All right, we're going to resume this. It is estimated that 60 million Americans are out of work. 60 million. This is the biggest financial crisis to ever hit America in my lifetime. Uh, and they're going to talk about doing a survey. Well, I say get things in place to go back to work, make your survey at the same time, move on and adjust with the survey. But get things going. The survey will help later on, but get things going.
The coronavirus outbreak, President Trump is trying to make what he says is the biggest decision of his life.
I want to get it open as soon as we can. We have to get our country open. I'm going to have to make a decision, and I only hope to God that it's the right decision. But I would say without question, it's the biggest decision I've ever had to make.
Joining me right now is Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks.
Mark Cuban. All right, and he's going to say make a survey. And again, I repeat, call your congressman, call senators, call the president, tell him to get things moving. 60 million people are out of employment. If those numbers are even close to accurate, we are in a financial crisis like we've never seen before. Get things moving. Government always takes time to get things moving. Get things moving, work on that, then take the surveys uh, with employers, employees, and come back, reevaluate, and get things adjusted if you need to, but get things moving.
He has hundreds of his own businesses, one of the stars of Shark Tank. Mark, what should be the criteria that the president keeps in mind when he makes the biggest decision of his life?
I think he needs more information. I think you can't just use the death rates and the number of people who are ill or sick or anything. You've got to go out and start talking to businesses about what they see on the other side. I would do a survey. I would send something out to companies and say, when we open back up fully, do you anticipate A, hiring the same number of people, B, hiring more, or 3, retaining less? And I would send out the same type of survey somehow to employees and say, do you anticipate going back to the job you left or the job that you were fired from? Or do you anticipate going to a completely different job? Or do you anticipate not going after a job at all? You don't want to.
It's great to have these surveys and have more information, but they can make up the surveys and do these surveys later. Let's get things moving.
Work, because we need more information to try to give us some indications of what things are going to be like after this reset.
What are the responsibility of these business owners? I mean, when I walk into a building, should they be taking my temperature on my forehead? Should I take that Abbott test 15 minutes to see if I do, in fact, have the virus? Get one, even if I go out to lunch, do I take another one of those tests? What should the businesses be prepared to do?
First of all, the businesses should be prepared to introduce whatever science the scientist tells us that we need to introduce. Whatever Dr. Fauci and company tells us is necessary, that's what we have to be prepared to do.
Be prepared to do, but can they afford to do it? And are the tests accurate? And are they going to produce results? There are other tests that he's not talking about.
Along those lines, where there's uncertainty, we're really going to have to adjust our businesses. You know, restaurants are going to have to realign the tables within, we're going to have to think about at the American Airlines Center, how we're going to sit people. There's just so many different variables that we have to consider, but we're just going to have to be agile.
Let's talk about sports for a second. Sports Illustrated said a quote that I wanted to share with you and get your thought on when sports is going to start again. Well, is it going to come back soon? The quote, we will not have sporting events with fans until we have a vaccine. That according to Zach Binney, a PhD, and who wrote his dissertation on injuries in the NFL. Do you agree with that?
Again, I don't want to try to pretend I'm the scientist. I'm the wrong person to ask on exactly what it's going to take. But there are scientists that we trust, and whatever they tell us, that's what the NBA is going to do. And I, as an employer, until I have absolute certainty that my employees are going to be healthy going to work, I'm not going to ask them to do so. If I had to guess, I do think we'll play games without fans initially. And then as we feel more confident going back to work and going into crowds, then we'll start to explore whether or not to bring fans into arenas and stadiums.
There you are. I'm going to leave it at that. I just think there's the agility, the adjustment, the fluidity, the ability to reevaluate and change as we go through this needs to be quicker both on a state and federal level and even on a local level. Government is the wrong system to adjust and do this. This is why private business needs to be doing this. This is why a business conference, a business leaders need to do this and be assigned a task force to do this federally and even statewide. And they need to convene and do this with business leaders that are sharp and can move with much greater agility and accuracy than the federal government. That's how I see it. That's how I'm calling it. There's Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. Good day. The governments have not been very agile in these type of things. That's always been their Achilles heel. Look at his historically, you'll see that again and again. Government 9 out of 10 times screws up, then they readjust, then they readjust, then they readjust, and they finally get down the road years later and they do something a little more correctly. Businesses don't have that time. They need to make sharp, adjusting principles and practices that they won't get sued on, they won't come back, be liable on, and they need to do things that are going to be effective and profitable at the same time quickly. This is why there should be a business task force established right now, and they should be making some decisions, and the government should be following their guidelines. This is why the government needs to partner better with business leaders around the world, around in the United States especially, and get these things going. We need to be doing this now as business leaders. There needs to be a business task force now used federally and statewide. The best business leaders you got in the state should connect with some federal task force, and they should combine their efforts and they should apply it. And we should actually be competing in different states to see which model, which group handles things best. We should do what they suggest in the states and the federal and get going and make adjustments as we move on. This isn't a one-cap-fits-all deal because states and regions and cities have different skill levels, different leaders, business leaders levels, and they will be adjusted according to the skills and abilities of those leaders in those areas, federally, statewide, and local-wise. That's my call. It's Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. Good day.